Okay, I am live, I think. Am I live? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I am live, I think. Yeah, okay, you guys can hear me. So, I am going live for the first time, and I wanted to go through React Native's documentation and read all this documentation, practice whatever is written in this documentation, and above all, learn React Native. So we're going to start from the introduction. So it says, welcome to the very start of your React Native journey. If you're looking for getting started into instructions, they have moved to their own section. Continue reading for an introduction to the documentation. So in this documentation, this short documentation, they're going to give us React components, what is React, and a few more things, which is these. So yeah, okay, that's actually good. But if we want to like set up our own environment and stuff, we can just go to this link right here. And it says getting started with React Native. So React Native allows developers who know React to create React Native apps. So basically you have to have prior knowledge of what React is. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have knowledge of what React is and how it works, then you cannot use React Native. Although they have mentioned that if you are like a beginner, if you don't know nothing about React, then this introduction is gonna, be helpful. So as you can see, many different kinds of people use React Native, from advanced iOS developers to React beginners. You see what I'm saying? To people getting started programming for the first time in their career. These docs were written for all learners, no matter their experience level or background. So that's actually a good thing. Now, how to use these docs, which is very important. So you can start here and read through these docs linearly like a book. So linear means like this, like line by line, in like a, I'm saying, like in a line by line type of way. Or you can read the specific sections you need. Already familiar with React. If you are already familiar with React, you can skip that section or read it for a light refresher. Okay, that's actually good. And then prerequisites to work with React Native, you will need to have an understanding of JavaScript fundamentals. If you're new to JavaScript or need a refresher, uh, you can dive or brush up at Mozilla Developer Network. Okay, so if you guys don't know nothing about like JavaScript fundamentals and stuff, then you can just simply go to these two links. They will redirect you to this website called Mozilla Developer Network, and yeah, see MDN Mozilla Development Network, and they'll give you like everything you need to know about JavaScript. So there's nothing much you need to know in JavaScript in order for you to like start coding or start using React Native. So what you have to do is like know like what variables are, what functions are, what are some like ES6, which is like JavaScript modern version, how does functions and stuff work. So yeah, that's just some basic stuff, or you can just simply go through these sections as well. So yeah, you see. Now, while we do our best to assume no prior knowledge of React, you see that's what I was saying earlier. Like you don't have to have a lot of React knowledge. Even if you have like basic knowledge, or if you don't, then it still is gonna be beginner friendly. But they do recommend you to like have prior knowledge of React. I mean, obviously you're working with React Native, so you have to know what React is. Okay, so there is that. While we do our best to assume no prior knowledge of React, Android, or iOS development, these are valuable topics of study for the aspiring React Native developers. See, that's what I said. Where sensible, we have linked to resources and articles that go more in depth, okay, which was these articles, not that one but these two, okay. And then there's going to be more in the future. So interactive examples, this introduction lets you get started immediately in your browser with interactive examples like this one. So we have imported React from React, which is what we are doing here, and then we imported text in view, which is a component from React Native. So okay, and then we created a function called const. The name of this function is your app. We are using arrow function, which I earlier told you guys about, ES6. So it's ES and 6, which is this JavaScript modern. It's basically modern JavaScript. So yeah. And then we're using a return. So we use return in order for us to like show this text or whatever the fuck we have inside this, to show it inside our display. And then we okay, so we have a view here which acts like a container. So this text is inside a view. A view is something that you see as a container, and you can put a lot of things inside a view. So yeah, we have styled this. We have given it flex1, and then justify content center, align item center. That's why this text is in the middle of the screen, because of these two properties. And then we got a text element or component, whatever you want to call it. Try editing me, and there you go. So okay, and then we exported this function as well. So export default your function. There's multiple ways of exporting, by the way, but yeah. The above is a snack player. It's a handy tool created by Expo to embed and run React Native projects and share how they render in platforms like Android and iOS. It's on web though. What about iOS? Okay. Oh. Okay, fuck it, my bad. So this is the player that we're talking about, snack player. So basically, the above is a snack player. It is handy tool crafted by Expo embed. So okay, basically this is snack player is something that is created by Expogo, and it helps us to run React Native projects on like Android and iOS, and also on web as well. As you can see, we have an option of web here. You see Expogo. So yeah, let's open this with Expogo. The code is live and editable. Okay, we'll see that. We'll see about that. So you can play directly with it in your browser. Go ahead and try changing the try editing me text above to hello world. So they want us to change this to hello world. Okay. This could be like, I'm not seeing the whole output here, and I think this could be due to my internet connection. We have a heavy storm at this current moment, so that's why the internet connection is like really fucked up. So yeah, but if I go back to web and try to edit this to like hello world, yeah, it's changing, but it also will, I think, change on like Android and iOS. You see, yeah, it's my internet connection, because you can't even load a picture properly. But I'll still give it a try, so let's see if it works. Okay. Okay, okay, there we go. So, as you guys can see, hello world. That's actually nice. And if I zoom in, as you guys can see, it says hello world. Now, if I type in React Native, it should change immediately. Yeah, React Native. The delay, like I said, the 1 second delay is because of my internet connection. So it has nothing to do with the Expogo or whatever this player is, snack player. Okay. I'm gonna say World War III. Yeah, it's changed to World War III. And I think it's a live player as well. Yeah, it's a live player, and we can just play with it as well. it's extremely slow. I don't know why. I don't think it's because of my computer. I think it's because of the internet connection, but that's just what I'm hoping because I'm on a Mac and Macs are not that slow at all. But yeah, there is that. So I'm just gonna close this. Anyways, so where were we? Yeah, Snack Player is created by Expogo, and it helps us to run Android and iOS on our machine, and blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. Optionally, if you want to set up a local development environment, you can follow our guide to setting up your environment on your local machine. Okay, so basically it's okay. So basically it means that since we did this on a web browser, as you guys can see, I'm on Chrome, and they said if you want to do this on your own machine locally, like without using any browser or like without being connected to the internet or whatever, you can just open your code editor and follow these steps, and you can like build your own project, and then you can just simply use this in your machine and paste the code examples into your project. See, if you are a web developer, you may already have a local environment set up for mobile browser testing. Yeah, this is what I'm saying, like your code editor and stuff like that. So setting up your environment, in this guide you will learn how to set up your environment so that you can run your project with Android Studio and Xcode. So Xcode is only for like if you have a Mac device, you have to have Xcode if you want to do like mobile development. You can also have Android Studio as well. I think I also have Android Studio if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I do have Android Studio as well, and I also do have Xcode. Yeah, so you have to, if you have like a Mac, then you can download both Android Studio and Xcode. But if you're on Windows, then you can only use Android Studio because Xcode is not available on Windows, and it's solely because of like how Apple works. Like, man, Apple people are like really greedy, to be honest with you guys, and they're doing this because of like um, because it's like a business thing. You know what I'm saying? They want people to buy their products. So yeah, it's solely a business thing. It has nothing to do with like, oh, well, Windows is not as powerful as a Mac. Hell no. Windows is way powerful than a Mac. But anyways, this will allow you to develop with Android emulators and iOS simulators, build your app locally, and more. Okay, one thing I want to talk about is on Android. If you have if you have your phone connected, just like I showed you guys, this right here. Sorry. So this phone, yeah, this right here. If it's Android, then it's called a where was it? Yeah, it's called an emulator. And if you are on iOS, then it's called simulator. Okay, that's something that a lot of people get confused. Like, oh, what's an emulator? What's an simulator? I mean, it doesn't matter, to be honest with you, what you called it. Uh, but yeah, it's just something like a lot of tech people will get a bit like upset if you mispronounce it, or if you like get confused with the naming convention or whatever the fuck you want to call this. So yeah, remember on Android it's emulator, and on iOS it's simulators. But yeah, there's just that, nothing on that. Okay, build your app locally and more. Now, this guide requires Android Studio or Xcode, just like I told you guys. If you already have one of these programs installed, you should be able to get up and running within a few minutes. If they are not installed, you should expect to spend about an hour installing and configuring them. Is setting up my environment required? Of course, setting up your environment is not required if you're using a framework with React Native framework. You don't need to set up Android Studio or Xcode, as a framework will take care of building the native app for you. If you have constraints that prevent you from using a framework, or you'd like to write your own framework, then setting up your local environment is a requirement. After your environment is set up, learn how to get started without a framework. Yes, okay, so basically what that means is um, it's recommended to have your own environment for two reasons. First of all, like safety and all that, and second of all, it's way faster if you like run code on your machine locally than just to pull up a browser and just code on that. It's just I wouldn't actually recommend you guys to do that, but anyways, I would highly recommend you guys to like set up your own environment and code on that, because yeah, that's how you actually grow. Development OS, Mac OS, Windows, Linux. So okay, so if we choose different options, we will get different settings. So for Mac OS, Target OS, Android OS, installing dependencies, blah 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 blah. But if I go on Windows, a Mac is required to build. Okay, Android. Okay, cool. And then on Linux, we can have Android as well. So yeah. So if you are on Mac just like me, installing dependencies, you will need Node. Okay, I believe it's like Node version 17 or some shit. Or 20. I think it's 20. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's 20. I have let me see, what version of Node do I have? What the fuck is going on with my terminal? What? That's crazy. Terminal. Bro. Man, I swear to God, this is so crazy. I can open a terminal from, hold on. I can open a terminal. I do have a terminal here. I must have a terminal. Oh yeah, I do. Hold on, sorry. It's right here. There we go. Yeah. So I have the 22.15.1 version. Yeah, I believe it's like 17 if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, you can just download the latest version by going to node download, and yeah, you can just download the LTS version, which is like long-term support. Yeah, my internet connection is fucked. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I can't even load a page. That's crazy. Crazy, bro. Nah, that's crazy. Yeah, the long-term support. You can just download that. I'm on a Mac OS, so yeah, but if you're on like Windows, then you can just download this. Or if you're like on Linux, then yeah. But anyways, back to this. So yeah, we need Node, and then we need Watchmen. So Watchmen is not the, if we search Watchmen, we'll get a movie, I believe. Yeah, 2009 Watchmen. But it's not that. Actually, Watchmen is a TypeScript package. I believe it's a package. Oh, it's a configuration watch. Yeah. So basically, with Watchmen, whatever you do, it will just watch your code and keep on updating your code without like you needing to refresh or do anything like that. Okay. It's just like using Live Server. If you've ever used like HTML, there's a package on VS Code called Live Server, and if you like right click and then run Live Server, then, and if you like make any changes on your code, then you don't have to refresh your page continuously or every single time you make changes, because Live Server is gonna like update you every single time you make changes to your code. So yeah, there is that, and I believe it's this one, or maybe it's this one. I don't know, honestly. But it's just a package, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, there you go. Watchmen package, yes, I was right. npm yeah, this bullshit. But anyways, so you need Node, Watchmen, the React Native command line interface, a JDK, and Android Studio. Okay. Well, you can use, okay, so JDK, in case you guys are wondering what the fuck JDK is, it's Java Development Kit. It's you must have this in order for you like to run a emulator on your device. Okay. So yeah. While you can use any editor of your choice to develop your app, you will need to install Android Studio in order to set up the necessary tooling to build your React Native app for Android. Okay. Node and Watchmen, we recommend installing Node and Watchmen using Homebrew if you're on Mac. Run the following commands in a terminal after installing Homebrew. By the way, Homebrew is like, how can I say this, like in the most simplest and beginner friendly way? So Homebrew is, I believe it's a package manager. And so the way it works is like, it's basically like a Play Store or like an App Store, but for your Mac. And you can download like whatever the fuck you want from Homebrew. I believe it's a package manager if I'm not mistaken. Um, Homebrew is a free open source software. Yeah, package management system. Yeah, yeah. See, and yeah, you can do like download whatever the fuck you want, like PHP or whatever the fuck you want with Homebrew. So yeah, and they'll give us the command brew install node, brew install watchman. I already have these, so I'm not gonna like preload these on my machine and make it slower than it is already. But if you haven't, then yeah, run this one first and then run install watchman. Or you can also do this with npm as well. You don't even have to use brew npm, pnpm, and yarn or whatever. But yeah, you can use a lot of those as well if you want to. If you have already installed Node in your system, make sure it is Node 18.18 or newer. 18.18. The second numbers are called 18. Okay, it's not called 18, so do not do that. Node version 18.18 or newer. You see, that's what I said earlier when I said it requires like 17 or something. I said 17, but yeah, I was wrong. It's 18. And it's only because, I used React Native like a long time ago, and back then it was the requirement for Node was 17.16 or whatever. But anyways, now they changed it to 18.18. And then Watchman is a tool by Facebook for watching changes. Yeah, I already told you guys. Java Development Kit JDK. We recommend installing the Open JDK distribution called Zulu using Homebrew. Run the following commands in a terminal after installing Homebrew. Okay, so after you install Homebrew, open your terminal and just simply copy this and paste this bad boy right here and then click on enter. I'm not going to do this. Like I said, I already have these setups. So I'm not going to make my Mac slower than it already is. Because every single time you download a package, it will, even if you have it like already installed, then it will like rewrite your previous files. And that will create some kind of cache, that you will not like see the difference now, but later on as you like keep on using your computer slowly day by day, you will see the changes, and it will make your computer way slower than it was before you did all this. But anyway, so after opening Finder, double click to install it. So basically you just install this, and I believe you can also download this as well. Zulu JDK 17. Let's see if there's like a D. Yeah, okay. If there's like a Mac file for this. It is loading. No, I don't want to accept no cookies. None of that bullshit. Yeah, okay, there's a DMG file. So you can just download this as well. It will save you a lot of time. Yeah, and you can install that simply as well. After the JDK installation, add or update your Java home environment variable. Yep, you have to do that as well. If you use the above steps, JDK will likely be located at Okay, this is going to be your environment. So the Zulu, okay. For both Intel and M1 Max, so I have the M chips, or not M chips, but it's called like Apple chips. But the M is like a model, so M1, M2, shit like that. This will make sure your builds are faster on M1 Max compared to using an Intel-based JDK. If you have already installed JDK on your system, we recommend JDK 17. Was this 17, by the way? Oh, these are like more than 17, which is like good, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Operating system, Mac OS, version. You see they blocked 17. Yeah, there's no 17, but you can use these as well. Or if they recommend actually 17, then what you can do is you can Google it like Java JDK 17 download for Mac. Yep, there we go. You have to be really specific with the versions they want because they don't play around. If they recommend you 17, then you have to install 17 because if you don't, then it's gonna mess up your code and you're gonna have a hard ass time and fixing that. So yeah, do that. And if you don't know how to do it, then just pull up ChatGPT and ask it how to do that. They'll also recommend you because that's like what most developers do nowadays. A lot of people don't talk about this. They'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about like using AIs and shit." But every single developer in this world uses AIs, except for like the ones that have like more than 40 plus years of experience. So yeah, but with the newer ones, like the ones that are like senior developers, juniors, intermediate type of developers, they always use AIs like every single time, and they will not admit it to your face because I don't know why. Maybe they feel ashamed or whatever. Although there's no shame into that. I mean, AI is developed for like it's developed to help us. You know what I'm saying? So like it's for our own good. But I don't know why some people are like scared to admit this shit. But anyways, man, I guess it is what it is. Okay, so you may encounter problems using higher JDK. See, that's what I was that's what I was saying a few seconds ago. If you don't go with the recommended version, then you will face problems. So there is that. Android development environment. Setting up your development environment can be somewhat tedious if you are new to Android development. If you are already familiar with Android development, there are a few things you may need to configure, okay? In either case, please make sure to carefully follow the next few steps. Alright, install Android Studio. You can download it from here. While on Android Studio installation wizard, make sure the boxes next to all of the following items are checked. So when you're installing, make sure these options are checked, okay? Then click next to install all of these components. If the checkboxes are grayed out, you will have to chance to install these components later on. Okay, so basically, like if you don't see these boxes, or even if you see these and they're like blacked out or grayed out or whatever the fuck, basically if they're disabled, then you can still install Android Studio, and later on, like once it's installed and you see the UI, then you can just simply go to like options, settings and stuff, and you can enable them from there. So like you don't need to freak out if they're grayed out. But anyways, once setup has finalized and you are presented with the welcome screen, proceed to the next step, okay? Install the Android SDK. I forgot what SDK stands for. Software, yeah, software development kit, yeah. So if you forget like what these acronyms, I think it's called acronyms, but anyways, so what these are called or like what they stand for, you can always Google them. There's no shame in that. Yeah, you can download Android Studio from here as well. But anyways, so installing the Android SDK, Android Studio installs the latest Android SDK's software development kit by default. Building a React Native app with React Native, however, requires the Android 15 Vanilla Ice Cream SDK, and particular additional Android SDKs can be installed through the SDK manager in Android Studio. To do that, open Android Studio, click on more actions button. I can just show it to you guys because yeah, I already have Android Studio, so I'm just going to show you this option right here. So this is the Android Studio UI. You're going to go to more actions, SDK manager, and then like from SDK manager, you'll have these options and you can download. These are, by the way, downloadable. You have to like download these. You can download whatever Android version you want. So currently I have the Android version 15, which is Vanilla Ice Cream, which is also what they recommended as well. So always make sure to follow up the steps they give you in documentations. I know a lot of people get cocky and be like, oh no, what if I do this? Like, yeah, you can do it, but then you're gonna run into a lot of errors, and it's gonna consume a lot of your time into fixing those errors. So it's better not to be like a dickhead and just follow the instructions. Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Come on now. So yeah, make sure to do that. Make sure to follow the documentations and do as they say, because yeah, because they don't want you to be an asshole. Okay, so there was that. The SDK manager can also be found within the Adorno Studio settings dialog under language and frameworks and SDK, which is just I showed you guys. I'm gonna show it to you again. If you can like find it from here, then you can just go to settings right here, and then as you guys can see, languages and frameworks, and then it's a drop down. So if I open this, I'll have Android SDK, and yeah, but the better option and a shortcut option would be just by going to more actions and then SDK managers, and there you go. Each one of these is like a device, by the way. So yeah, I believe it's like somewhere. No, it's right here. Yeah. You see, Androids and stuff. And if I click on OK, let's click on OK. But yeah, now it won't cancel because it's trying to load up that fucking the virtual device. Alright, well, fuck it. So the SDK manager can be found within the Adorno Studio. Yeah, I just showed you guys. Select the SDK platform tab from the yeah, that's just what I showed you as well. Blah 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 blah. Finally, click apply and download that. Configure the Android home. You don't actually need to do that, but if you want to do it, then go ahead. Requiring Android. Yeah. Well, it's actually easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get confused, like, what the fuck this is, if you're like a beginner, then you can just copy this whole fucking URL and go to ChatGPT and just paste it and give it a prompt like, simplify this documentation page for me, and it will simplify it for you. Like I said, there's no shame into using AI. I don't know why some people are like, oh, you need to be ashamed of using AI. Like, bro, what? Man, some people are crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But anyway, so back to where we were. Now paste the examples into Okay, developer notes. People from many different development backgrounds are learning React Native. You may have experience with a range of technologies from web to Android to iOS and more, okay? We try to write for developers from all backgrounds. So like even if you're like a Python developer, Java developer, JavaScript or whatever the fuck, you can still read these documentations and you will be good to go. Sometimes we provide explanations specific to one platform or another, like so. So they have Android, iOS, and web. Web developers may be familiar with this concept. The iOS developers may also be, and Android ones will also. Okay. Formatting menu paths are written in bold and use carrots to navigate submenus. Example, Android Studio, and then this motherfucker, preferences. Okay, so these are like formattings. Now that you know that this guide works, it's time to get to know the foundation of React components. We can either click on here or here, but I'm just gonna follow the rules and click on that. So core React, not React, but core components and native components. What the hell is that? So React Native is an open source framework for building, okay, it's open source framework. It's a framework, not a library. Framework for building Android and iOS applications using React and the Apple platform's native capabilities. With React Native, you can use JavaScript to access your platform's APIs as well as to describe the appearance and behavior of your UI using React components. So basically, it means like you can tweak your UI with React Native. Like you can also code the backend part and the front end part. Okay. React components bundles of reusable nestable code. You can learn more about React in the next section, but first let's cover how components work in React Native. Okay, views and mobile development. In Android Studio, no, not Android Studio, what the fuck am I saying? In Android and iOS development, a view is the basic building block of UI, a small rectangular element on the screen. So it's something like this. Draw.io. I believe it was draw.io. Yeah, it was this one, I believe. Bro, but I can't believe it. My internet connection is fucked. Bro, it is enabled. What are you talking about? Draw online. Like a whiteboard, I guess. I like whiteboard online draw. Yeah, that one. Does this one have better options? Nah, it's the same shit. Okay, so yeah. A view is a small rectangular element on the screen which can be used to display text. So basically something like this. So we have a phone, okay? I hope I can draw better. Nah, fucking suck. What the what the hell am I doing, bro? God damn. Let me get these shapes, I guess. So this, what the? Ain't there like a rectangular shape? Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, my bad. So let's say this is a phone, okay? This is our phone, and inside this phone, we will take a view. So a view is gonna be a small rectangular shaped element, which means if we take a view, okay, if we take a view, it will, obviously we can tweak the size, we can like, configure it or like resize it or whatever, but at first it's gonna be something like this. Yeah, and then inside this what you can do is you can have like your text here, like your I'm just gonna say T, your text here, your beautiful image or whatever you can put on this, and you can put a lot of other elements as well on here. Let's see, what else elements can we put? Display text images or responding user. Yeah, user inputs as well. So user input is on like a text field or whatever you want to call it. So this, when you click on it, something happens. Like for an example, if I click here, it will uh, it will pop up my keyboard. Like my keyboard is gonna pop up, and then I can just simply write something right here. That's like basically an input box. That's all I want to say. And then we can also add like way more things as well, like scrollable items and shit like that. But anyways, so like I said earlier, a view is nothing else but a container. We can put shit on a container as well. To respond user inputs, even the smallest visual elements of an app, like a line of text or a button. Yeah, okay, we can also add buttons as well, by the way. Or kind of views, some kind of, okay. Or kinds of views. Some kinds of views can contain other views. It's all the way down. Okay, so some kind of views. You guys might be wondering, what the fuck does that mean? Some kind of views can contain other views. I mean, this is a really deep one. So basically what that means is when we take a view, so this is our view, right? And let's say we have a lot of options here. So first of all, I'm going to resize this. Whoa. This is my first time, by the way, using this website. I don't know how the fuck does this work. But anyways. So let's say we have like a lot of inputs. Okay? We have a lot of inputs. like one more here, and then at the bottom we have like our own like login button or whatever the fuck you want to have. So if you are like on a mobile device, you will have a smaller screen. Basically, you have a smaller screen, and if you put all these elements inside a view container, then a view on its own is not scrollable, which means you cannot like scroll it. Like there's no scroll options. This thing that you see right here, this scroll bar right here, it is not available on the basic or simple view container. So what you have to do is take a view, and inside this view put another view. Like there are a lot of views I'm going to be showing you that like there are a lot of more components, like scrollable components. One of them is called I believe scroll view or some shit like that. I think it's called scroll view. Yeah, I think it's scroll. Yeah, there we go. Scroll view. So you can like put this inside a view, and yeah, scroll view or flat list, which there's a difference between these as well, but I don't want to bore you guys with that right now, and I don't want to confuse you as well. So yeah, a view on its own is not scrollable, and if you want to make a view scrollable, then you have to either add flat list, or you can add scroll view. Scroll. I so suck at drawing. I did not know that. Scroll view. There you go. Or like flat list. Flat list. Okay. So yeah, some kind of views can contain other views, which is scroll view, flat list, and there's a few more that I can't think of right now, but there's like a few more as well, which like hides your notch and shit like that on your phone. It's views all the way down. So basically, in this image right here, we have a title here, then we have an image, a text, and then it's not scrollable obviously because it's a view. So yeah, and all of this is inside a view. It's a container, so it's inside a view. I believe this is Android and this is iOS. Yeah, iOS, Android. Yeah, okay, cool. So all of these is inside a view group. So we have images, like I said. So okay, one more thing though. You see how they mentioned image view and not just simply image? It's because Android and iOS, before React Native came in, or like not came in, but like got developed, I guess, Android was using Java as like its core language where you can like develop shit. It was using Java, and on on iOS, I believe it was Objective C. I'm gonna try to find a better one. What should I type? I don't know, like Java script online draw, I guess. No, these are not the ones that I want. I know a website. What was it called? Like ELS Draw, I guess. No, it wasn't that. What the fuck was it called? Draw online tool. We also have Canva, but Canva isn't that good. We also have Diagram as well. Draw.io. Draw.io is actually nice as well. But my internet connection is so fucked up that I can't use it. Okay. Let's see which one of these is nice. Okay, I think this one's nicer. Pick a tool, start drawing. Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. It's that one. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna bookmark this because I don't want to lose this website. But yeah, so before like in dinosaur times, that's what I want to call it, dinosaur times. Yeah. dino times, or like ancient times, back in ancient times, they used to use Java. I like the way Brazilians pronounce this, or like Portuguese people call it Java or Shava, something like that. And then it was Objective C. So basically, Objective C was for iPhones, or not iPhones, but like iOS devices, and Java was for Android development. I'm gonna write the Android here. Android, and then iOS. There we go. So before we had React Native, we had Java for Android devices and Objective C for iOS devices. And then on Java, we also had like other, I'd say like framework, not like Java framework, but like other type of languages that people used for development and developing Android. And it was like Kotlin, some shit like that for Android, and then I believe it was Swift for iOS. And I think people still use Swift a lot more. Google Trends. Let's go to Google Trends. I think people still use Swift way more than React Native for like mobile development. But yeah. Before I go to Google Trends, I just want to give you some history lessons about these. So yeah, before React Native or anything like that, we used Java, and then we still use Kotlin, by the way. We still use Swift for iPhone, but the thing is, we cannot use Kotlin for iOS development, and we cannot use Swift for Android development. So React Native came along, and React Native did like this revolutionary thing, which is with one language, we can use both iOS development and Android development. And the best part is that this language is JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript. Yeah, JavaScript. You know what? It's way better for me to like write it with this. Yeah. Font size. Yep, there we go. So React Native came in, and it revolutionized. Oh, what the fuck am I saying? So React Native was developed to use for both iOS development and Android development. And the good thing about about React Native is that it's run on JavaScript. Okay? And JavaScript is something that web developers been using since like ancient times, which means they know how this language works. They know like the bare bones of this language. So it's way easier for a web developer to pick up mobile development and just simply roll with it. You know what I'm saying? And rather than just learn a whole nother language and start to like develop on that. And even if you learn a language, then you will be only limited to choose one of these operating systems, either like Android or iOS. You can't just choose one language and code on both of these. So that's why React Native was developed, and React Native is like so much better, and it's so good that you can use one language and code on both operating systems. So there is that. But if I go to like Google Trends, let's compare React Native. Yeah, React Native to Swift. Worldwide. Compare this to Swift. Is this Swift? Hold up. Am I bugging? Swift code? No, it's not Swift code. Bro, I know the word, but I can't think of it. Think of it right now. Swift iOS. Development. Swift, C, Objective-C, and all that shit. Yeah, it's Swift, right? Like, it's Swift. Yeah, it's Swift. Why am I bugging? Or is... It has to say, like, Swift, it has to say, like, software right here, just like it did for React Native. Like, I can't choose this shit. Because then it won't, like, make sense at all. Like, what the fuck is that? People are using Swift in Cameroon. I mean, come on now. This is something else. Swift team. No. What the hell? Okay. Bro. This is so weird. It's Swift, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's Swift. But why is Google Trends not picking it up? Bro, it's Swift. Like, the fuck? It's not search term Swift. It has to say software. Oh my god. Oh yeah, we also have Dart as well. But on God, it's Swift. Let's compare it to Dart. Is search term what? Anyways, I think it's search term then. But it shouldn't say search term. It should say like software. See, like right here, software. It should say software, not fucking search term. Or am I just typing it wrong? Let's type it with a capital S. Or just I'm gonna copy this right here. Swift. Yeah, no, it's not case instead of. So yeah, I think it's that one. But like anyways, it's still used way more than React Native, which is the whole point that I made, or the whole argument. I don't want to say it's argument, but like the whole thing that got us here is because of what I was saying. Like Swift is still used way more than like React Native and shit for like iOS development, and same with Kotlin. But yeah, slowly React Native is starting to like take away, take the dance floor, I guess. So yeah, that's like a whole history about. I know I sucked at it. I sucked at explaining it to you guys, but yeah, I hope you. I hope you actually learned something. So yeah, but if you want to like dive deep into this more, you can either like comment down or you can just Google it as well, and you will find a lot of good information. So yeah, wait. Okay. So the only reason we are here is because of this. I was saying like, why is it image view for Android and why like text view for iOS is because of these. Okay, because of these, and later on we're gonna see that as well. So yeah, native components in Android development. You write views in Kotlin. See, that's what I'm saying. Kotlin, yeah. Kotlin, Java, and iOS development, you can use Swift or Objective C, which I told you about, which I told you guys about Objective C. With React Native, you can invoke these views with JavaScript using React components. At runtime, React Native creates the corresponding Android and iOS views for those components because React Native components are backed by the same views as Android and iOS. React Native apps look, feel, and perform like any other app. We call these platform-backed components, React Native. So basically, it's saying like how people used to use these two languages for like development, and how not React JS, but like React Native came in and how it like changed the whole game and all that stuff. And then it also uses like the same type of components as what you used to use like on Kotlin and Swift. So yeah, React Native comes with a set of essential, ready-to-use native components you can use to start building your app today. These are React Native's core components. Okay, so these are core components, which are we are about to see these ones. The documentation references a legacy set of API needs to be updated to reflect new. Okay. React Native also lets you build your own native components for Android and iOS to suit your app's unique needs. We also have a thriving ecosystem of these community contributed components. Check out native directory to find what the community. Okay, so we can also create our own custom native components as well. Not native, I guess it will be only like custom components. Yeah. And on here, yep, these people have made their own custom components, and that's like the timestamp. And yeah, and this is their website, I guess. Google G9. Is it called G9? Yeah, so people are making like you see Swift UI. So yeah, people are making like all different types of components, like custom components. 1,845 entries. Cool. Is that dark mode? Oh wow. Alright, so you can make your own custom component and you can just upload it at this website. So core components. React Native has many core components for everything from controls to activity indicators. You can find them all documented in the API section. You will mostly work with the following core components. So these are React's native UI components: a view, a text, image, scroll view, and input, text input. And then on Android's native components are view group, which what we saw here, view group, and then text view, image view, scroll view, and all that. And then on iOS, it's UI view, which they also showed it, and the image right here, UI view. But yeah, and then this is a description of what a view is. I already told you guys it's a container. So a container that supports layout with Flexbox style and some touch handling and accessibility controls. A text is, you already know what a text is, and then also an image. Scroll view is something that like you can scroll through a view. Text input is you already know what a text input is. And the app section, you will start combining these core components to learn about how React works. Have a play with them here now. So we have imported React, and then we have imported view, text, image, scroll view, text input, and they're all from React. I'll go to iOS and I'll play that. What do you call it? Snack player? Yeah, snack player. So we made a function here, an arrow function. Then we are returning a scroll view, a text inside this scroll view. And then we took a view and then put another text component inside a view. We are fetching an image from this URL with this style. Oh, by the way, one more thing though. Whenever you're styling an image that you're like fetching from a URL, then you have to 100% of the times give it a style, mostly a width and height. Like if you don't give it a style, then it will not show up. I don't know why it works like that, but you just, I mean, it works like that. I don't know why. Text input, yeah, okay, there's style the text input as well. Made the border color is gray, border width 1 with the height of 40, default value, which works as like a placeholder, but a placeholder is not a value. This one's actually a value, so yeah. Scroll view and then exported the app on default. Like I said, bro, either my internet is slow as shit or my browser is bugging or this documentation, there's something wrong with this snack player. It's either these three cases, or maybe it's just the iOS simulator. No, it's the Android as well, because look at the design, it's fucked up, it's messed up. You can type in me. Whoa, what does that mean? You can type in me? Bro, pause. What the hell? You can type in me? Man, that's crazy. Crazy ass Zesty cat. Man, you can type in me. That's something I would never say. Like, okay, if I remove the style tag from right here, then yeah, you see the image is not showing up. That's just something that, I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, this is something with whenever you're like fetching a image from a URL, and also whenever you're like fetching an image from a URL, you have to give it URI. But if you're doing like locally, then you have to use require instead of URI. So there is that. And then yeah, cool. Because React Native uses the same API structure as React components, you will need to understand React component APIs to get started. The next section makes for a quick introduction or refresher on the topic. However, if you're already familiar with React, feel free to skip ahead. Now we'll go through it. So React components and React Native components. Okay, so think of this as like an ostrich egg because it's big. So think of this as an egg. React components are like the yolk, and then the React Native components are like the yolk of the egg, and then React components are just like that transparent, gooey substance. I guess that's what you can call it, of the egg, and yeah, these components are like in the core. These components are like the main ones. So community components, core components, and your native components. So yeah. Now, if we go to React fundamentals, React Native runs on React. I mean, duh. A popular open source library for building user interfaces with JavaScript. To make the most of React Native, it helps to understand React Native itself. This section can get you started or can serve as a refresher course. We're going to cover the core concepts behind React, so we're going to be covering components, JSX, props, state. Okay, if you want to dig deeper, we encourage you to check the React official. That's, by the way, React J is not React Native because we are already on React Native. So there's that. Your first component. Okay, I'm so excited. My first component. What? The rest of this introduction to React uses cats. Wait, what? The rest of this introduction to React uses cats, and its example friendly, approachable creatures that. Oh, okay. You're talking about like actual cats. Oh, okay. I thought it was some kind of like a fucking component, a function, or some shit. Okay. Creatures that need names in a cafe to work in. Oh my god. Here is your very first cat component. By the way, I'm a dog gang. Okay, like I don't fuck with cats. But anyways, import React, import text function called cat. We're exporting that function. Inside the return, we got a text component. It says hello, I'm your. Hell no. Hello, I'm your dog. Yeah, because like I said, man, dog gang. Here is how you do it. To define your cat component, first use JavaScript's import to import React and React Native's text component core. Okay, so whatever we are, whatever we are using inside our code, like as in like a component, then we have to import it. Okay, got that. And to import that, we can use it's a TypeScript syntax. So import, it's the same as for J6 as well. Import React from React, import text from React Native because it's a React Native component. Okay, your component starts as a function. Cool. So cat is our function. You can, and then we use like yeah, objects and shit. Yeah, no, it's arrow function, no object. You can think of components as blueprints. Whenever a function component returns is rendered as a React element. React elements let you describe what you want to see on the screen. Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. Here, the cat component will render a text. Okay, so basically, render is a fancy word for show. So they basically want to say show, but you know, they're just using fancy words like, oh, render. But anyway, so const cat equals to this function hello, okay, and then we put this inside our return so it can be returned here, and we can just see it with our own eyes. So there is that. You can export your function component with the JavaScript's export default for use throughout your app, like so. So we can, yeah, once we define the function, then we can export it in order for us to like use it in other pages or use it in like general, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, export default cat. You can also write it like here as well, export default as well, but yeah, export default cat. So this is one of many ways to export your component. This kind of export works well with Snack Player. Okay, however, depending on your app's file structure, you might need to use a different convention. This handy sheet of JavaScript imports and exports can help. Oh, okay. I think they're gonna like show us different types of imports and exports. Oh yeah. Okay, JavaScript module cheat sheet. Name export. So this is like a name export, or we wanna like how we want to export it. So export constant name and then its value. And the way we're gonna export this, import this in another page is gonna be like this. Import the name of this function and then yeah, name of this component and this, yeah. And then default export default, import any name from this, rename export. If we want to like rename a component in another component and like, you know, export it with like a different name, then this is how we can do that. Okay, we can do the same thing for like a list of components. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's nice. We'll do the comments say, don't forget, fellas, that you can also import raw users in case you want to. Yeah. Anyways. So, we saw different types of exports as well. Now take a closer look at the return statement. Text, hello, I am your cat, is using a kind of JavaScript syntax that makes writing elements convenient for J6. J6 is like JavaScript XML, but it's also not. Because if we search this, it's called JSig and syntax extension. You see, it doesn't say like it's XML, but that's what like it means. JavaScript recommend using it, yeah, shit like that. Like meaning, see there you go, JavaScript XML. But at the same time, if you go to like JavaScript's, not JavaScript, but like React's documentation, you will never see the XML word. They have not mentioned it in their documentation. So yeah, at the same time, it is XML and it's not. So yeah. So React Native uses J6, a syntax that lets you write elements inside of JavaScript. Like so J6 is basically like you can write HTML inside JavaScript. That's what it means. Like basically, like in a simpler way. Hello. Wait, yeah. Hello, I'm your cat. I'm your dog. The React docs have a comprehensive guide on J6. Yeah, we need to watch that. I mean, you need to watch and read that. You can refer to learn even more because J6 is a JavaScript. You can use variables inside it. Here you are declaring a name for the cat. Okay. Cool. So yeah, it's like this time it's not like manual. I mean, it is manual, but at the same time, like we are declaring a variable. So instead of changing it right here, we can just change it Maru to some like Contour, which is the name of my dog. So yeah, there we go. It will automatically change instead of us for like changing it every time, a single time here. So yeah, there is that. But what if I do something like, let's say, const of last name equals to something like, let's say, cat in the bat. No, not bat, but like hat. Okay, and import this right here with a comma, name. Yeah. Hello, I'm a cat in the hat. It shouldn't say I'm a cat in the hat. It should say, hello, I'm Contour. Wait, hold up. What happened here? Hello, we see hello here, and then I am, and then cat in the hat. Okay. Cat in the hat with a bat. I should say Contour, cool. So, if I change it to el nombre. El nombre, yeah, there you go. Now it works. With a good spacing as well. There we go. Hello, I'm Contour, cat in the hat. Makes no sense, but anyways. Any JavaScript expression will work between curly braces, including functions. Function calls like get full name, rum, tum, tugger. If you had only changed these two words to, you know what I'm saying, would have been a big mess. But anyways, TypeScript, JavaScript. Yeah, they will do the same thing. But TypeScript is like way much safer. It's a bit complex, but it's way safer. Text, okay, give full name, the function. Then we have like first name, second name, third name. These are like we are defining types. Okay, that's what TypeScript is. Like whatever you do, you just define types for it so it don't give you like errors and stuff. So yeah, return it first name equals to this, second name, okay, and then hello, I'm a, get full name, rum tum, I'm not gonna say that, and then yep, and if we go to JavaScript, then it's like much easier. We don't have to like, you know, define types and shit. We can just simply write it down raw, but then yeah. You can think of curly braces. So basically, what it's trying to say is that we can use these variables or these JavaScript like variables inside our return tag, which returns like HTML stuff. We can use these variables inside curly braces. So whenever we write curly braces, that means we are opening a portal of JavaScript and we can write down JavaScript code, okay, inside a return tag. That's what it basically means. Like all this words, fancy words and shit, it means just that. But yeah, you can think of curly braces as creating a portal. See, that's what I was saying. Portal into JS functionality in your J6. because JSX is included in React library. It won't work if you don't have import React from. Okay, so make sure if you are using JSX, then make sure you import React. Although most of the times you don't even need to do that, but yeah, sometimes it can throw you errors. So it's best to do that. Okay, now custom components. You have already met React's native core components. Yep, we saw those, which was like view, text, image, and all that. Scroll view and all that. React lets you nest these components inside each other to create new components. Okay, that's cool. These nestable, reusable components are at the heart of the React paradigm. For example, you can nest text and text input inside a view below, and React Native will render them together. So this is our text, and this is the text input. So let's see what they did here. Okay, a view, which is a container. We have a hello I am text inside this view, and then inside this view we have another component called text input. We gave it a few stylings here, a default value, and yeah, so basically, okay, yeah, well, I already told you guys this. With a shitty drawing that I made with another website. I told you, like, you can use so many other components inside a view container. So this is what they're saying now. On Android, you usually put your views inside linear layout, frame layout, relative layout, etc. to define how the view's children will be arranged on the screen. In React Native, Vue use Flexbox for its children's layout. You can learn more in okay. And web, if you're familiar with web development, view and text might remind you of HTML. Yes, you can think of them as the div and p tags for application development. Okay, you can render this component multiple times in multiple places without repeating your code by using cat function. View, I am also a cat. Okay, and then we made another function. You see how it's like outside of this function, so always make sure we're like, when you have one function you don't and you want to like write another one, make sure you don't write it inside this one unless if you like need a nested function and shit, but in this case we don't. So const cafe, and we are just simply rendering, or we are simply calling the cat function multiple times. Yeah, you can do that as well. Yeah. Any components that render other components is a parent component. Here, cafe is the parent component, and in each cat is child component. So okay, yeah, this is like kind of like props. Props is something like you define a component inside a parent component, and then you can use it inside a child component. We'll get into that later on, but yeah, this is what it's trying to say. Like, you can use a component inside one function, and then you can use it, or you can call it inside another function. And it's also possible in React and React Native. So that's cool. In this case, so cafe is parent, and then cat is the child. So we're calling the child from the parent function or parent component. Okay. You can put as many cats in your cafe as you like. Each cat renders a unique element which you can customize with props. See? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Props. Props is short for properties or properties. Props let you customize React components. For example, here you pass each cat a different name for cat to render. Okay, so you don't have to care about this because it's just some type thing that TypeScript does. But if I go to like JavaScript, then you can see there's no type here. But anyway, so what we did here is we took two React components here, which is like text and view. These are like native components from React Native. And then we made a function here. We passed on props. You can name this anything you want, by the way, not just props. You can name them like bazooka or whatever the fuck you want to call it. view, and then text hello I am props, and then name. What or where does name come from? It comes from right here. So we give this name a value of Maru, and what's the other one? Jelly Lorm, and then Spot. And then we call this name inside the child component, because remember this is parent. We call this inside the child component with the help of props, or like properties. We can call this anything we want. You don't have to like specifically call it props. I'm gonna call this like bazooka, and then here I'm gonna do the same thing, bazooka, and then we have a dot here. You might not be able to see it, but we do have a dot here. Let me zoom in. Yeah, see, there you go. So bazooka dot name, and there you go. So you don't have to like specifically name it props or whatever. Yeah, and props is used to like send data between like parent component to into child. For now, you just have to keep that in mind. Like props is used to transfer data from one component to another, specifically from a parent component to a child. Later on, we're gonna go through like every single example and all that stuff. But for now, I don't want to confuse you. I don't want to bore you. So that's all you have to keep in mind. Most of React Native's core components can be customized with props too. For example, when using image, you pass it a prop named source to define what image shows. We can also do that as well. So right here, image, view image, and then the URI, because like I said, whenever we are fetching images from a URL, then we use URI. But if you are doing it locally, then you can use required. And yeah, hello, I'm your cat. Okay, cool. Image has many different props. We'll see that, including style, which accepts a JS object of design and layout related property value pairs. Notice the double curly braces, yep, surrounding styles, width and height. In JSX JavaScript, values are referred with curly braces. This is handy if you are passing something other than a string as props, like an array or number. Cat food equals to, like, we have curly braces and then an array because we have multiple data, so we use array. Fish and kibble, age 2. However, JS objects are also denoted with curly braces. Okay, cool. Therefore, to pass a JS object in J6, you must wrap the object in another pair of curly braces. Okay, so basically what they're trying to say is, like I said earlier, whenever we are using a JavaScript code, then we have to write that down inside these curly braces. These curly braces will act as a portal, okay? A portal of JavaScript. Whenever we use these curly braces, it means we are opening a portal to JavaScript. Now, in order to use an object, we have to, I mean, you already know that when we use objects, we use like curly braces, right? So in order to use an object here, which is like style or a props style, then we can use that inside these curly braces. So you can simply say like style equals to some shit like background color is like purple or some purple. Okay, there we go. So we can do that. Now I can't format this, but anyways, so that is why we use these curly braces. To use an object inside a JavaScript, we use double curly braces. Okay, it's not working because obviously, I mean, it's outside of the function and outside of return. But if I put it inside this, it will 100% work. Cut. Oh, okay, fuck it. Then I have to also well, I'm just gonna simply type it here. Background color should be purple. What's going on? You can turn off automatic updates. Bro, what? Hold on. What's going on here? Background color. Yeah, my bad. See, there you go. So yeah, and oh, by the way, what do you guys see on the background? We have this image inside a view, and a few minutes ago we learned that a view is nothing else but a small rectangular element, which as you guys can see, it's a small rectangular element. So yeah, this is what view is. Anyway, so image has many different props and blah 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 blah. Now you know why we use double curly braces. You can build many things with props and core components, text, images, and views, but no, building something interactive, you will need state. So what the hell is a state? State, while you can think of props as arguments you can use to configure how components render, okay, so basically it means like, oh, you know how we use props to render components or like to show components. Well, guess what? State is like a component's personal data storage. State is useful for handling data that changes over time or that comes from user interaction. State gives you components memory. So basically it means like state is something that is interactive, and if we click on it or if we use it, then we expect an interaction and stuff like that. And then it says, as a generally use props to configure a component when it renders. Use state to keep track of any component data that you expect to change over time. You see, it's like I don't know how to say this, but like a shiny object thing that you expect returns and emotions and like interactions from. Yeah. The following example takes place in a cat cafe where two hungry cats are waiting to be fed. Their hunger, which we expect to change over time, unlike their names, is stored as state. Okay. I need to read this again. Their hunger, which we expect to change over time. Okay, so yeah, obviously, I mean, hunger is something that changes, and that's what state is all about. Interactions and what was the other word? Interactions and um, interactions and bro, what? I'm bugging, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Which we expect to change over time, unlike their names, is stored as a state. To feed the cats, pressure. No, not pressure, but press. To feed the cat, press the button, which will update their state. Um, you can also add a state to component by calling React use a state hook. A hook is a kind of function that lets you hook into React features. For example, use a state is a hook that lets you add state to function components. You can learn more about other kind of hooks in the React um, hook documentation. Okay, so I am Monku Strap and I'm hungry. That's a weird name. Sounds like some Egyptian god. I am Sput and I'm hungry. Okay, give me some food. If I click this, you see there's an interaction that is happening. And give some food. Yeah, there you go. So basically what we did here is we took a button, a text, and a view, and then we also took a use state um, as well. Then inside this function we pass props, and these are from user state, is hungry, set is hungry, use state. So at first they're both hungry, which we use the state or we give it a boolean data of true, so which means like at first they're hungry, like from the get-go they're hungry. And then inside our view we wrote this: I'm a props name, which we are obviously getting from here, name, and I am hungry is hungry. So these are like ternary operators. It's like an if else. And is hungry, if we write this down like simply without like an exclamation mark, which means not, but in this case if it doesn't have an exclamation mark at the um, beginning of it, something like this, then it means it is true. Okay, so if hungry is true, then print hungry, or like show us hungry, else show us full. That's what it means. And then button on press, if we press this button, then set is hungry should be false, which at first it was true. So it basically means like at first the cat was hungry, and when we fit it, then now it's full. It's not hungry no more. So hungry should be false. Then disabled, yeah, is hungry. There's no like no more hungry or not hungry. Um, then show us that. Title, if hungry, then give me some food, please. And once you give it some food, then thank you. Okay, the parent component, const cafe equals 2. We pass these two names. You actually don't really need to do that as well. You can just simply type it here as well, but they just simply want to do, or they simply did this just to like show you how state and props works. But yeah, I hope you know like what state is and what a prop is. But what the fuck happened? How the hell? I don't know what happened. Damn, crazy, bro, crazy. First, you will want to improve use state. Import use state from React like this. Then you declare the component's state by calling useState inside its function. And in this example, useState creates an isHungry_state variable, which is right here. So basically, what they're trying to say is whenever you're using useState, you have to give it two values. Okay. And this is, by the way, optional. You don't need to write this down or like write this inside here. You can keep this empty as well. Okay. But yeah, so there is that. Then you declare the components state by calling user state inside the function. And this example, user state creates an isHungry_state variable. So yeah, our function is called cat, and we give it a props called cat props, and then it goes to this function is hungry, is set hungry, and at first it is like the value of it is true. You can use user state to track any kind of data. Okay, string, numbers, booleans, arrays, objects. For example, you can track the number of times a cat has been pitted with const times pitted or set times pitted. At first it's going to be like 0, or it's going to be false or null, shit like that. Not null, but like false. Calling use state does two things. It creates a state variable with an initial value. In this case, the state variable is hungry, and its initial value is true. I already told you guys that. It creates a function to set that state's
set that state variables value to sit is hungry. So the first value and then the second value. Okay. It doesn't matter what names you use, but it can be handy to think of the pattern as gator, setter, user state equals initial value. Okay. So basically, they're trying to say that you have to follow like a naming convention, a logical one, not just some. You can't like type in some dumb shit like dog or whatever. Like you can't just type in dog or like alligator, right? Shit like that. Here, you have to like make it meaningful and logical. So if like other developers read your code, then they know like what the hell did you do, or even if you read your code and in the future, you know like what you did. So always try to follow the naming conventions and always make it logical. It doesn't matter what names you use, but it can be handy to think of the patterns. Yeah. Next, you add the button core component and gives it an on press prop. So on press basically means like whenever we press on a button, it will do something. So yeah, in this case, it will set is hungry to false. Now, when someone presses the button, onPress will fire calling the set is hungry false. This sets the state variable is hungry to false. Yeah, just as I told you guys. When is hungry is false, the button is disabled. Props is set to true and its title also changes. Okay, with the help of state. So yeah, disabled is hungry. The button is disabled. We don't see this button no more. I mean, we see it, but we can't use it no more. The title is hungry. Give me some food. Once you give it some food, then thank you. You might have noticed that although is hungry is a const, it is seemingly no, not it is seemingly reassignable. What is happening is when a state setting function is like set is hungry is called, its component will re-render, and in this case the cat function will run again, and this time use state will give us the exact value of is hungry. Okay, that's interesting. Finally, put your cat inside a cafe component, which is the parent component right here. See the fragments. By the way, these are called fragments. These empty code um, symbols. I don't know what's it called in like the actual. I know what's it called, the actual name of these, but I don't like. I can't think of it right now. But in React and React Native, these are called fragments. These bits of J6 are fragments. See, just since J6 fragments must be wrapped in an enclosing tag, fragments let you do that without nesting an extra unnecessary wrapping in an element like view. Okay, we can also use like use fragment instead of this. We can just simply write down fragment. Is it not the same as this one? Oh. I don't think it's a closing tag, or is it? No, hold on. Is fragment not a closing tag? Self-closing tag? Wait a minute. You see fragments. On okay, cool. So yeah, okay. In React Native, I believe it's React dot fragment, and yeah. Let's copy this, paste it right here, and then I have a feeling that it might not work, but let's see. Yeah. But yeah, I believe it's like something like fucking fragment. You can also like write down fragment instead of using this. And I also believe you have to like import this at the top. So that could be the issue. These docs are old and won't be updated. Go to React. Aha. Or we can go to right here. Okay, it's the same thing. Shit, fuck it. Reference fragments. You see? Yeah, there you go. You see? You can use these as well. Fragment. That's what I did though. Fragment. Like I've used this multiple times. Oh. Okay. Okay, hold on. It is a self-closing. No, it's not self-closing tag. But we have to simply put it right, like right here. Like this. You see? It should work, but I don't know why it's not working right here. Maybe we need to like import this, but I don't think we need to. Fragment is not defined. Yeah, I think we need to import this like from React Native or some shit. But anyways, too lazy for that. So yeah, you can do that as well. Now that you have covered both React and React Native's core components, let's dive deeper on some of these core components by looking at handling text inputs. All right then, handling text inputs. So text input is a core component. Okay, it's one of the core components of React Native that allows the user to enter text in enter text. It has an on-change text prop that takes a. I mean, you guys already know what a text input is, right? Takes a function to be called every time the text changed, and on submit editing prop that takes a function to be called when text is submitted. For example, let's say that the user types you are translating their words into different language. In this new language, every single word is written the same way. So a pizza emoji. So the sentence, hello there, Bob, would be translated to 3 pizzas. That's actually funny, I'm not gonna lie. User state. You guys already know why we are using user state. But if you don't, then go to React Docs and read what user state is. And then we used text input, and view. We made a function called pizza translator. And then inside this pizza translator, we are using text and text. And at first, their value is going to be empty because we don't like write anything down inside this input field. So obviously it makes sense for it to be empty at first. I mean, it's logical. And then, yeah, the styling and all that. And on change text, new text, okay, equals to set text. Set text comes from here, and then, okay. So basically, yeah, new text, okay, so that will be set text. Okay, I get it. So whatever we put inside this input field or input box or whatever you want to call it will be its value will be set to this emoji right here. So text padding and all that shit, split, map, or okay, so map is basically gonna like loop it, or the word, okay, join, yeah, okay, cool.
So let's type in like Kool-Aid. That's one word, so we get one pizza. Coke, two words. Glass. Okay, cool. And no matter how long a word is, it will always accept it as one word unless we type a space between them. So let's say something like Jonas has kinks. See, that's going to be one word, although it is actually three. Jonas has kinks. These are three words. So yeah, this is how it works. And there's an example. We store text in the state because it changes over time. There are a lot of more things you might want to do with a text input. For example, you could validate the text inside which the user types. For more detailed examples, see the React docs on controlling components or the reference docs for text input. Text input is one of the ways the user interacts with the app. Next, let's go to another. Okay, okay. Yeah, so basically they're saying that you can like tweak this in any way you want. You can add a lot of more things to it. You can also fix this spacing thing as well. So you can just detect a word, something like instead of if we write this like this, if we don't give spaces, so instead of defining one emoji for that, it will define three. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you can do a lot of things with a text input and also with like use state and use hook. Yeah. Okay, then we have the using scroll view. We already know what scroll view is. It helps us to like scroll. See, it gives us this scroll bar right here. So yeah, instead of wrapping it inside a view, we wrap it inside a scroll view. So yeah, scroll view can be configured to allow paging through views using swiping gestures by using the page enable props. Oh yeah, by the way, instead of like scrolling vertically, we can also scroll like horizontally as well. And for that, there's like a property called like horizontal view, something like that. Yeah, I believe it's called like horizontal view. React Native yeah, horizontal scroll, not view, obviously. It has to be here inside this doc. Flat. Let's flat list though. These are the values, by the way. Content adjust behavior. Disable internal momentum. Horizontal, yeah, there we go. But it's not just horizontal, or maybe it is, and then we just set its value to true. So let me do that. Horizontal equals to true. Yeah, if you are like on iOS and Android, then you'll see that. But anyway, so this is how you do it. Scroll views can be configured to allow paging through views using swiping gestures by using the page enable prop. Swiping horizontally between views can also be implemented on Android using the view pager component. On iOS, a scroll view with a single item can be used to allow the user to zoom content, set up the maximum zoom scale and minimum zoom scale props, and your user will be able to use pinch and expand gestures to zoom. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so basically it's saying that if we use like scroll view on iOS, then we can just simply like pinch and zoom in an image or whatever we have. Okay, cool. Using list views, let's see what list views are. React Native provides a suite for components for presenting lists of data. Generally, you'll want to use either flat list or section list. Okay, so what's the difference between these? The flat list component displays a scrolling list of changing but similarly structured data. Flat list works well for long lists of data where the number of items might change over time, unlike the more generic scroll view. The flat list only renders elements that are currently showing on the screen. Okay. The flat list components requires two props, data and render item. Data is the source of information for the list. Render item takes one item from the example creates a basic. Okay, so basically what they're trying to say is this. They're trying to say that, let's say we have a phone. I don't know why I did that. So we have a phone, okay? It looks more like a tablet, but anyways. So we have a phone and we have a bunch of data, like we have a lot of this. Okay? We have a bunch of data. Let me remove this and let me grab this. So we have a bunch of text, okay, and a bunch of data, a bunch of text, whatever we have, but it's a lot, okay? Now it's a lot. So if we use, okay, if we use here scroll view, if we use scroll view right here, I'm gonna change this to green, then it will slow us down a little bit, because what scroll view will do is it will render all of these items or all of these datas. Let's say if it's like 1000 data, then scroll view is gonna render all of these inside our page or inside our app, okay? But on the other hand, if we use flat list, then what flat list is going to do is flat list. Okay, so what flat list is going to do is flat list will only display the amount of data that we can see on the screen until like up here. So let's say how many data that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So instead of rendering 1,000 data all at once, it will only render 7. And as we scroll, it will keep on rendering. You know, so like as we scroll, it will render more data. But at first, it's not gonna render 1,000 data at once, which is really good because we don't want our app to be slowed down by rendering or fetching 1,000 datas. Okay, so yeah, that is why they recommend us, if we are dealing with a lot of data, then we should use flat list instead of scroll view. Okay, so yeah, that's what they're basically trying to say. And they use the flat list right here. Yeah. If you want to render a set of data broken into logical sections, maybe with section headers similar to UIT table views on iOS, then a section list is the best way to go. Okay. There's also section list as well, which will give us this, as you can see, like the grayed out background color you see on D and J. So if you want to render a set of data broken into logical sections, so basically if we use section list, then it will like how can I say this, then it will break it into sections for us. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Maybe with section headers, similar to UIT table views on iOS, then a section list is the best way to go. Okay, if we have data that like we want to add sections and stuff to, then we should use section list instead of a view or flat list. Okay, so we use flat list when we have a lot of data, and we don't want to just render all that at once, but instead like if we scroll, then we want our data to be rendered each one by one with each scroll, then we use flat list. And on the other hand, if we have sections on our list, then we can use section list. Okay, cool. So one of the most common uses for a list view is displaying data that you fetch from a server. To do that, you will need to learn about networking and React Native. Cool. So now we're gonna go to troubleshoot. What is troubleshoot? These are some common issues you may run into while setting up React Native. If you encounter something that is not listed here, try. Okay, cool. So port already in use. Okay, so these are like the common issues that you are gonna face in your coding journey with React Native. So the first one is gonna be like the port already in use error. The Metro bundle runs on port 8081. If another process is already using that port, you can either terminate that process or change the port that the builder uses. Okay, so you can either change this port inside your code, or you can just simply terminate it as well. To terminate a port, this is what you can do: a command, and then run the following command to terminate the process. Yep. On Windows, you can find the process using port 8081 using resource monitor, and stop it using task manager. Yeah, okay, so you can do that like manually on Windows. Using a port other than 8081, you can also configure it. If you don't want to use 8081, then if you use npm, this is how you do that. If you use yarn, then this is the command for that. Cool. So you will also need to update your application to load the JavaScript bundle from the new port if running on device from Xcode. Okay, so sometimes here's the thing: when you run Xcode alongside with your like other IDEs and stuff, they can have like a conflict between ports, because most of the time Xcode is going to use this port, and if this one's busy, then it's going to use 8081, and if you don't terminate that, it will cause conflicts between your servers. So always make sure to check this out, what port you're running on, and once you're done like with your development and stuff, then you have to terminate your port every single time. So yeah, there's that. And then npm locking error: if you encounter an error such as npm warn locking error access while using React Native CLI, try running the following command. Okay, so if you face this error, npm warn lock error, then you can run these commands. Missing libraries on React. There's nothing new here. I'm pretty sure you guys have like faced these issues while coding React.js, because I'm assuming you have a background in React.js. So yeah, these are nothing new. I mean, these are like some basic errors and stuff. Let's go to platform specific code. When building a cross-platform app, you will want to reuse as much code as possible. Scenarios may arise where it makes sense for the code to be different. For example, you may want to improve separate visual components for Android and iOS. React Native provides two ways to organize your code and separate it by platform. Okay. Okay, so basically, when using React Native, we are coding for two different platforms. Like I told you guys, we are coding for Android and iOS. Now, sometimes if we want to show something for Android and not for iPhone, or if you want to show something for iPhone and not for Android, then at that moment what we can do is we can use platform module. So as you guys can see, I used it here. Import platform from React Native. Don't give a fuck about style sheet. It's just for styling. So import platform from React Native, and then so basically platform is going to be like a conditional code. It's going to give us conditions. We want to show this on Android and not on iOS, or if we want to show this on iOS and not Android, then we can use this platform module. So as you guys can see, we are creating a style sheet here. We're creating specifically a height. Platform is going to be always, so iPhone. Sorry, not OS, iOS. This is what you have to like write down. It's mandatory. Platform.os, and then triple equals, and inside single quotes, it's gonna give you three options like Android, iOS, and I forgot what the last one is, but anyways, so yeah, so iOS, then 200, else 1,000. So we are displaying some kind of image. In this scenario, we're displaying some kind of image, although there's no image in this code, but I'm just saying this like as an example. Let me write this down here. Fuck it. Let's say this is our Android phone, okay, and this is the iPhone, okay. Android, and then iPhone, or iOS or Android, but I think you guys would appreciate it better if I just type in iPhone instead of iOS. Anyways, so there is this image that I have, a beautiful ass image of me, okay, a beautiful image of me. Let me make an image. I'm a happy guy, so yeah, there's this image of me that I only want to display this on Android, okay. I only want to display this on Android. So what I do is I use platform module. I use platform module, and I give a condition to platform module, and my condition is going to be something like this based on what they did here. So my condition is going to be if my device is Android, then I want the height of this image to be around 200 pixels. Okay, display 200, or show my picture, or render my picture as a 200 pixel image on Android. But if I am on iOS, then change this height to what the hell? Change it to 100 pixels. So what's gonna happen is my image, if I so like behind the scenes, this is what's gonna happen. My React Native code is gonna look at my operating system, which we defined it here, platform.os, or my platform module is actually gonna see what device I am on, and if it's an Android device, then it will display my image 200 pixel, and if it's iPhone, then it will display it only 100 pixels. So that is what it basically means. I hope I explained it to you in like a better way. So yeah, platform OS will be iOS when running on iOS, and Android when running on Android. There is also a platform.select method available that given an object where keys can be one of the iOS, Android, and native. See, I told you like there's gonna be like third options and shit. Or default returns the most fitting value for the platform you are currently running on. That is, if you are running on an iPhone, if you're running on a phone, iOS, and Android keys will be taken preference. If those are not specified, native key will be used and then the default key as well. So this time they used platform.select. Okay, separator. We use separator right here. Platform.select iOS background red, on Android green. So basically, if we use what's it called, platform.select, it's gonna choose for us which device we are on, and then based on that, it's gonna like display all this shit. This will result in a container having Flex1 on all platforms, a red background color on C on iOS, a green background color on Android, and a blue background color on other platforms. It's also good if we have our device running on like multiple different platforms, and we give it like we are giving it like basically conditions right here. So yeah, since it accepts any value, you can also use it to return platform specific components like behavior. So we can also set behaviors as well. Component equals to platform.select. On iOS, require this. On Android, do this. Okay. Component for native. Okay. And when I say do this, it means like on iOS, it's just a text. It's not nothing else. Write this down, and on Android, write this down. Okay, so I don't want you guys to be confused. Detecting the Android version. On Android, the platform module can also be used to detect the version of the Android platform in which the app is running. Okay, you see, that's what I said, like it will detect it for you. Import platform from React Native. If platform that version equals to 25, then running on Nugget. Okay, so it will also like detect what version of Android you are running or what version of iOS you're running. Cool. It's basically the same for iOS as well. On iOS, the version is a result of UI device system version. So this is what they're going to check your version from, which is a string with the current version of the operating system. An example of the system variables is 10.3, for example, to detect the major version number on iOS. Parsing platform version 10. If major version iOS is smaller and equal to 9, then work around a change in behavior. If it's like smaller or equal to 9, that would be like what? Fucking iPhone SE, I guess, something like that. iPhone C or something like that. It's gonna be an old iPhone, but yeah. Platform specific extensions. When your platform specific code is more complex, you should consider splitting the code out into separate files. React Native will detect when a file has a .ios or .android extension and load the relevant platform file when required from other companies. Sorry, other components, not companies. For example, say you have the following files in your project. Okay, we have bigbutton.ios.js and bigbutton.android.js. You can then import the component as follows. Import bigbutton from ./bigbutton. React Native will automatically pick the right file. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. React Native will automatically pick up the right file based on the running platforms. Whichever platform you're running on, we don't have to like specify the whole name of it. Even if we do like specify the like first name or name of our file, then React Native is gonna like automatically pick that up for us. So that's actually cool as well. Will save us a lot of time. React specific extensions in this context or in this example. Sharing code with Node.js and web. Import container. Yeah, we don't need these. Okay, what are some more resources? So more resources are like places you can go to. You can go to from here. You can set up your environment and all that shit. Dive deep and all that. Yeah, that's cool. So tomorrow we're going to be going through all of these.
and I'm not just gonna be like reading it, because I read these because they're like introduction. There's nothing to do here. There's like, you can't really code and shit, although I did some code some parts of it for you guys, but yeah, it wasn't that big because it's mainly introduction at the moment. That but yeah, tomorrow we're gonna be coding, like actual coding, and I'm gonna be showing you guys like how file structure works, what each code does, how to create your own project, how to use it both on Android and iOS, how to set up your ID and all that stuff. So yeah, as you guys can see, it's 2:30 a.m. and I'm really tired, and you guys can also hear it in my voice as well. So yeah, yeah. With that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow, I guess. And in the meantime, you can also go through React documentation, and always remember one thing: what makes a software engineer is the ability to read documentations and the ability to understand from the documentations. So always, instead of watching courses and shit, always go to docs. Always. And yeah, with that, I'm going to be ending my stream. So yes, sir.